That's right, it's finally here, an all-new Top 5 series for Smash Bros. Wii U. If you haven't seen my Top 5 series for Brawl, here's a link that'll take you to the Countdowns playlist, but with a new game comes loads more characters, stages, final smashes and other things, which is what we'll be looking at in this series, starting with the characters. Before I delve into it though, as the title states, this is my Top 5 loved and hated characters, so I just want to point out that this has nothing to do with any tier listings, nor does it matter who is good for competitive play, as I don't play competitively, and just because I like them, it doesn't mean I'm any good with them. I'm also not taking anyone's final smash into account. This is purely the characters I like and don't like playing as, so if anyone comments how my list is wrong because it's different to the tier listing, or that someone should be on here because their final smash is awesome, they're morons. So with that, let's get this show on the road.
Samus.
Once again, we have my favourite bounty hunter on the list. As I mentioned before, she was one of my favourite characters in Melee, as well as Brawl, and now she's back on top form. She has the same weapons, moveset, speed and power as before, which suits me down to the ground. She has quite a lot of long range abilities, decent close combat skills and enough speed to keep the battles pretty fast paced and fun. Her charge beam is a powerful shot, so there's always that fear those that can deflect projectiles back will do it and you'll be KO'd by your own attack, but it just makes it so you have to be all the more creative with your strategies. She's a bit lower down on the list than she was before, but she's still a great character.
Wario.
Yep, Wario's back in Smash Wii U, and he's back in my hated list. He's pretty much exactly how he was in Brawl, and while he may have a few moves to score some KOs, or can be decent if you're lucky, it's not enough to make up for everything else. His moveset is awful, he's too slow and not powerful enough to compensate. His fart move has the same issue Jigglypuff's sleep attack does, where the hitbox is so small it's not worth using. Granted, his throw is pretty good, but using that every time to KO anyone would get dull very quickly. Using his eating move to eat healing items makes them more effective, but he'll need more than that for me to start liking him. I said in the Brawl video that I wish they'd kept in Dr. Mario over from Melee instead of having Wario, and seeing as Dr. Mario is in Smash Wii U, I'll let you in on a small spoiler. I prefer Dr. Mario to Wario.
Greninja.
One of the newcomers to the Smash series, and what a great one he is. I haven't played any Pokemon games after Gen 4, but there was a lot of hype about Greninja being in Smash, so I was looking forward to giving him a try, and he didn't disappoint. He has a nice moveset, even if there are a few moves I tend to favour and use a bit too much, but with great speed, superb jumping ability and recovery, he's a force to be reckoned with. Some of his moves don't have a great deal of knockback, so you'll need to pummel your enemies a bit more than usual, and honestly, I'm not particularly good with him, but that doesn't stop him from being a fun character.
Jigglypuff.
Yep, just like Wario, Jigglypuff is on the list again, and just like with Wario, it's the same problems I had before. Great recovery, but really light, bad movesets maybe with one exception, and nothing redeeming. As I mentioned in Wario's section, the hitbox for the sleep move is really small, so even if your opponent is asleep, you could still end up missing. The only difference with Jigglypuff is that you sleep for a few seconds, leaving you open for taking a beating. It's great if it does connect, but it's not worth the risk. Yes, her rolling attack can be decent, but even that can cause a self-destruct or two. She still sucks just as much in Smash Bros. As she does in the regular Pokemon games. I still haven't played any Fire Emblem games, let alone any of the recent ones, so just like with all the other Fire Emblem characters, I didn't know who Robin was, but he's great. As soon as I played as Robin, I really liked him and knew he would be somewhere in my top 5, and here he is. We have a lot of sword fighters now, so having a character that has a few magic spells as well as decent swordplay is a breath of fresh air. His moveset is good, as well as having some decent knockback, and he may not be one of the quickest characters, but he has enough to keep him safe and the battles enjoyable. I always forget there's a female option though.
Pac-Man.
This might come as a surprise to some, but I just can't get on with Pac-Man. I loved the Pac-Man games as a kid and was overjoyed when I heard he was playable in Smash 4, but there's just something about him that doesn't click with me. His basic combo isn't too bad, but I don't like his moveset. His side special can be good, but it's still not anything special. His bonus fruit ability can be good, but it takes so long to get to the decent items that you'll probably get interrupted before you get there, though it is decent if you manage to hit an opponent with them, but that's a pretty big if. I didn't know what to expect with Pac-Man when he was announced, but I'm not keen on what we got. That's right, it's the green-clad hero of time himself. As I said before, I may be biased due to my love for the Legend of Zelda series, but seeing as Robin and Greninja made this list and I hadn't even heard of them before their inclusion in Smash 4, my love for the Zelda series can't be the only reason Link remains one of my favourite characters. In terms of Smash Brothers, I've loved Link ever since Melee, but in Smash Wii U, he seems to have been given a slight upgrade. He has pretty much the same moveset he's always had, maybe with a few tweaks here and there, but he is still one of the most fun characters to play as. Seeing as Link is number 2, if you saw my Brawl video you'll probably have guessed who my number 1 will be, but you've got to wait a few more minutes for that.
Olimar!
I don't give a flying pancake what any tier list says, even though there isn't one for Smash Wii U just yet. I still don't like Olimar. Using the Pikmin really doesn't work with me, and sure, you may get lucky and have a decent effect Pikmin destroy your opponent, but using them in the first place is really awkward. Yes, he has decent grab range. I still don't give a flying pancake, and the fact he now only has 3 Pikmin rather than the 5 he had in Brawl means I'm having to pick them even more often, and I hate that. I will say his up special is better than the one in Brawl, but you know, flying pancake. Oh, and Alf just looks like Olimar on drugs. Although this is a list of my 5 favourites, there are a lot of other characters I really like, so here are some honourable mentions. And the number 1 spot goes to... Yes, I still love Ike. People seem to either love him or hate him, but I love him. Granted, he is a tad on the slow side, but his moves have enough power to them to make up for it, and his moveset is top notch. His sword strikes actually feel like they have some weight behind them, even his regular combo seems like it hurts, and is sometimes all you need to get the upper hand on your opponents, especially during sudden death. I'm actually pretty good with Ike, but don't play the game enough to be great, so I don't always win, but I'll still give most of my opponents a decent challenge. Just ask Silver Sonic 234 or Justin from Super Productions. Deciding who should go in the hated list was harder than deciding who should go in the loved list, but here are a few dishonourable mentions.
Lucina!
Some will say this is a cop-out, but I don't give a flying pancake. Lucina is not necessary. We've had clone characters before, but there was always something different between them, even if it's just a case of speed-power variations. But as far as I could tell, Lucina is identical to Marth. I know she isn't, there are some slight variations, but for me they are so minor they're pretty much non-existent. I know I said I wasn't going to mention Final Smashes, but even that is exactly the same as Marth. Apparently Lucina was going to be another form of Marth, like how Robin has a male and female version, and frankly, they should have kept it that way. I don't mind Marth, he's a decent character, so why would I want to be a Marth knockoff? If she had her own moves or some proper variations, then fine, I'm down with that, but as she is, she's a waste of a character space. If you think that's not a good enough reason to have Lucina as number 1, you better go look out the window. You might see some pancakes soaring across the sky. Well, that brings this episode to an end. There are loads more videos to come in this series, so in the meantime, let me know what your most loved and hated characters are. I'll be doing the same 4 categories I did for the Brawl series, as well as a few others, so tune in then. Special thanks to Demon Dante for the flying pancake picture. There's a link to his DeviantArt page in the description, and trust me, his stuff is well worth checking out. But for now, thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed it, and see you next time.